Hey, how's everyone doing? Welcome to the Built Different podcast. My name's Pete Asadourian. It's so great to be here today, and it kind of brings back a lot of memories from back years ago, about 15 years ago. I did a show here with Arnold Dean, and just sitting in here, it just really brings back memories. Special thanks to the Rocky Hill Community Television and Michael O'Toole for producing this. I want to introduce my co-host, Randell Bennett. I've known Randell for quite some time, a number of years. He's a friend, a former client. We go back, way back, and we share several stories from, just training stories and experiences that we've been through. I'll introduce Randell.
Randell Bennett, Connecticut born and bred, man. Former athlete, current coach. I run a program similar to Pete's program. Like Pete said, we've been knowing each other since 2003. I was a young high school athlete, training, getting ready, and that kind of got me started on my journey. That first year training with you guys, that was the first time I could make it through conditioning.
Yeah, that was definitely
when we went back to football the next year. So.
So that kind of brings us, not to interrupt you, but that kind of brings us to why we're doing this show.
Yes.
And why do we decide to call it Built Different? There's a number of reasons that we'll get into, obviously, why we're calling it Built Different. But, we are different, and the experiences that we've had are different. We always say everybody has a story. We just want to share ours. Obviously, people have been through the whole show. I think we're going to bring to our viewers, our goal is just to really educate them, from anything from wellness to fitness to the mental side of it. And I think, being a former pro athlete, you can certainly attest to that and, speak volume on that.
I mean, I think in the last couple of years, mental health has really started to get out there and people know about it. Not something I necessarily thought about when I was playing. And now that it's coming to the forefront, we're starting to see these are things that I was doing that could have been helping my mental health, but I wasn't really aware that I was doing it for those reasons.
Right. So those are great things that we're going to be able to, share with our viewers and stuff. And then, it just goes down the line as far as your career. So I think today, with our show today, we're going to have some great guests on and, just really interview people and get different perspectives on, their experiences, whether they're pro athletes or just regular people just living life in their experiences. But the big thing, though, for us, I think, is just to spread that message of, our hard work, our persistence, and, just being able to get through, persevere through obstacles. And those are some of the other things that we're going to also bring you guys.
For sure. Working with a lot of athletes over the last, 10 years since I started my training business, the highs and lows, the ups and downs, whether it be injuries, whether it be, players getting cut, things like that, having to put yourself in that position of being the mentor for certain athletes and trying to help them get through, tough and trying times is always something that, I learned from you. I learned from many other coaches, but now I feel like I have this wealth of knowledge, to help guys navigate. So
right.
We want to offer that to, the general public, and people that don't get to sit down and spend time with us while we're chatting in the gym for, a half hour after our workouts and stuff like that.
Right. So today, it's excuse me, it's more like we want you guys to know us and a little background on ourselves before we start bringing in guests. But you spoke a little bit, Randell, kind of quick intro on yourself. You played at Grambling. You went to Cromwell High School, state champs. You're a coach there. And just, again, just talk a little bit. I know, again, you talked a little bit about, quickly, but, talk about a little bit about your background. You had a cup of coffee, as you would say. I love that, with the Giants. And, so those are awesome experiences.
Yeah, it definitely came fast. Cromwell High didn't have football when I was a freshman, and then we, got a football team. We had 1 year of varsity before I graduated, and, few years later, I'm playing at Grambling State, one of the premier HBCUs in the country. And
You played a bowl game there too, right?
yeah, I played in the All-Star game. We made it to the SWAC championship my senior year. Yeah, it came very fast. I remember one day just walking in the locker room, and there was a scout from the Giants there, and I'm new in the program, and this guy's just talking to me the entire time.
Right. I can remember you calling me. You were in the limo. You're like, "Hey, coach, they're coming to get me. They're coming to get me to bring you for a physical or something."
The Giants
So
definitely sent a stretch Hummer to pick me up at the hotel when I first got to town, and it was a surreal moment to be riding through New York
it for
City.
a minute. That's pretty cool. Yeah, definitely cool. So like going, through my business, what I've done, and I trained you. We started doing some stuff for the combine. You came back. You were preparing for that.
Yeah, I definitely, when I signed with my agents, you were the first person that popped into my mind. I said, I know a guy. I had to go get with, people that I knew I could trust, and came back home to start training with you. Yeah, met a lot of other athletes that you had, in the fold at that time when I came back, because I was gone for 4 years.
Right.
And just being in the environment every day, working out with other pro athletes, bunch of guys, NHL guys, pro baseball guys in there at the time, them being able to share stories and, give advice and give information, it was just awesome.
I think that's like a big thing too for a younger athlete to be experienced around, and hearing stories of, whether it's mental health or how hard they worked and, the ups and the downs of it. So those are things that obviously we're going to be able to share, as we progress forward. As far as like the training, right? Why don't you talk about that, like how hard that training was when you were, putting forth that?
Man, my hardest days training definitely had to be at Grambling. Not that the workouts when I came back home were lighter. I mean, it's so hot there.
Yeah, right. That's
90,
the only excuse, right?
90 plus every day. We ran at 4 p.m. in the afternoons during the summer. Sun didn't let up on you. Heat didn't let up on you. Working out, 6 a.m. workouts, 4:45 a.m. I had a call time at 4:45 to go work out, and I thought I had made it, right? So I said, I'm going to go to the later workout. And I walk in, and my strength coach is just staring at me. He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, what do you mean? I'm here to work out. He's like, no, your time was earlier. And he told me to get my cleats, and we went out into the stadium, and he made me crab or bear crawl up the hill of the stadium in the end zone. And it's, 6:30 in the morning.
Bet you showed up on time, right?
Every time. Every time. Hands were frozen.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. So, I mean, the training just really opened my eyes up to, that next level of, work that needed to be put in. When you're playing with, elite athletes, high-class athletes, it's like it's every day. It's every little inch you can steal in preparation, because you might be seeing a guy that is an absolute freak this week, and, coming from this little, town that we come from, and, you're secluded. You don't get to see those, like, just rare freak athletes.
Right. It's a large pool. I say that all the time with, like, even, Tyson, my son, playing hockey. It's like there's so many hockey players. There's so many football players. There's just like every athlete has that, aspiration to be the pro. And,
Right.
We always say it's like, what, 1%, so it could certainly happen, but it certainly takes hard work, and being in the trenches myself, seeing it and training those athletes, it takes work. It takes a lot of hard work. So that's awesome that you are where you are, and now you're giving back.
Yeah, it's funny because every athlete reaches that point where you don't play anymore, and it's definitely a hit to the ego, just because you do it so much that you have no choice for your identity to be in it, to a certain extent. You know what I'm saying? Some guys fully in it. Some guys, it doesn't take over for them like that. But, a chunk of you is gone when you lose the game. So when you have to give it up, you're kind of lost for what you should do. You know, we're seeing probably the greatest football player ever retired today, Tom Brady.
Right.
And
is he going to retire? He might come back.
I think he's done. But he spent more time playing football in the NFL than, you know, he has more time in anything else he's done in his life.
Yeah.
So
he's definitely a GOAT.
Definitely the GOAT. But it's going to be interesting to see, you know, I wish I could be a fly on the wall for how he's going to handle this process, you know, and show how he's built different.
Right. So it's definitely, you know, it takes a lot. I mean, this is, you wake up every day, you're going to the stadium, you're working out. This is all you know, and it's that repetition. Right. So to say kind of go, you know, the average person going to work every day, you're in that routine. You know, so what are you going to do to jog that up?
Yeah. Talk about Tyson though.
Yes.
Your son's you know, I'm gonna call him a star.
Well, he's getting there. It's not all about him, but you know, it's definitely, you know, rewarding for me to see. You know, I have 2 kids. I have, you know, Macy and my son Tyson, but they, you know, I always say, like, you are a product of your environment. Whatever environment you're in, however you're raised, you're gonna certainly adapt to that environment.
That's a fact.
You know, the way that, you know, their mother and I raised them was, you know, hard work. You know, if you want something bad enough, you got to go get it. You know, and don't talk about it. I think a lot of people talk about it, and but you got to go out. You got to put the words away, you know, and just lead with action.
Right.
And so those are some of the things that we raised our kids with: lead with action. And you know, it's just great. He's at a great point right now where you know he's looking at high school to, you know, play high school hockey or the next level, and it's exciting for me. And you know, just I look every weekend is awesome. My buddies will be like, "Hey, what are you doing this week?" I'm going to see my kids play, and it occupies the whole day, that occupies the whole weekend. But that's what it's about. You know, it's about, you know, that's why, you know, for me, you know, I don't think I ever work hard. You got to work harder than that day, but for me, I put the work in. Now it's rewarding to be able to take the time and go see my kids play their sports and do all that.
Right.
But yeah, it's and then as far as like being in business for the 25, you know, I've been in business 25 years, and been in the community for 25 years, and I think that's another reason why we're doing this show. You know, and just to talk about that again, this is obviously our intro show, getting to know us a little bit, but excuse me. I think it's you know, just a give back to the community. I think that's where I'm at right now, where I want to, you know, we're doing a golf tournament. We're going to raise scholarships. Those are things that we did in the past. You know, good friend of mine, Peter Egan, and I ran a nonprofit that produced scholarships. So I want to bring that back. I want to be able to, you know, help kids, you know, that can't afford tuitions or, you know, whatever it may be.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I mean, especially with the way things are going right now, you know, kids trying to earn money, you know, to just further themselves. That's awesome. I think anytime a young person can kind of stand on their own too, you know, earn a scholarship, you know, aside from, you know, what their parents do, you know, whether their parents are pretty well off or, you know, they need the scholarship to be able to go to college. I think just being able to earn something for yourself, I think that's just getting you started on a great path, being that early.
Yeah, for sure. I think too, you know, I talk about it. I just recently wrote a book. You know, it's called Built Different. Obviously, that's why we're wrapping this whole thing around. And I share stories in there about, you know, not only my kids and how I raised them, but like just stories of like persevering, you know, working through things. And, you know, for me, I'm a cancer survivor, you know, I'm 3 years. And I tell the story. I tell that story of how I battled through it, and, you know, the mental side of it. I woke up every day, and you know, I told myself it was tip off. You know, it's game time. You know, every day was a new day, and I told myself that it wouldn't get any worse, and it did get worse. Every day it got worse, but like, you know, I embraced it. You embrace whatever you're going through, like whatever situation you're in. I think as human beings, we learn to embrace it, and if you don't embrace it, you're just going to fail.
Right.
And you're going to end up, you know, at the bottom. But for me, I tell people that was probably the best thing that could have happened to me. Not from just from a standpoint of where it kind of altered my life a little bit to say, hey, pump the brakes, enjoy and relish, if you will, and be grateful for what you have. And I think sometimes we get caught up in just moving forward, just keep moving forward, keep moving forward. Yeah, we want to move forward. That's a message that we give. Yeah, keep moving forward, but recognize, the steps that you're taking to move forward, and just don't go.
That's an awesome point. Because I was going to say, especially in sports, us both being coaches, something bad happens. You know what I mean? What's the thing we're going to tell our team? Turn the page.
Right.
Right? And I think some people get so caught up, if you come from sports, turning the page, that you don't know you really need to process some of these things and internalize them and help yourself get over that, or you're going to have a whole bag full of things you suppressed turning the page. And then the next thing you know, that's when you have burnout, and those types of things because, you haven't really been feeling anything.
Right. We talked, excuse me, I talk to, mental coaches all the time and, get their perspective on, how do you leave something behind? What do you do? What are the tricks behind that? And one of the guests that we're going to have on, my sister, she does a lot of mental coaching and for athletes. And
she spoke to my team this year.
Yeah, she went and spoke.
Very great at what she does. Helped us out tremendously.
Yeah, so just giving little tools. She came in and spoke to the volleyball team. I was a coach in volleyball this year. She came in and spoke to them, and it was, just think of a word. Think of a word if it doesn't get, but it could be something, anything little. But whatever happened, you can't replace it. You can't go back and replace that. So you just got to keep moving forward. Move forward, figure out why you did it, and keep advancing.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. I definitely learned so much when she came and spoke, and it just gave me the time. Being the head coach, often it's on me to say something and to speak, and that was the day where I got to just sit back and listen.
Right.
And
hearing someone else too. Always
Well, you just learned she had a great open dialogue with the team and gave everyone a chance to speak, and it gave us some real clarity on how we should move forward with certain guys because you got a team of 50. We come in for practice. We don't usually have time to sit down and talk to all 50 guys every day.
Yeah, well, I think it's important too. Like even if you're in that group, that you express yourself.
Yes.
You got to be able to express yourself.
Yes. Always be yourself.
Yeah.
Right. Be comfortable being yourself. No matter what you like to do, there's always going to be people that gravitate towards you. I say in football, because we don't cut people in football, right? You don't turn anybody away. So you got tall guys, short guys, fat guys, skinny guys, right? You're going to have every dynamic in the high school will probably be represented on your team, right? Yep. You're going to have the jock kids, you'll have the nerd kids, you'll have all these guys, but they'll all be there.
Right.
And they'll all be together and drawn together, and that it perfectly represents to your school.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you have to learn to work with everybody.
Yeah. You're building a community, nonetheless. That's what it is. And you got to be able to work. And I think the bottom line is, too, the messages I know that I try and give, like, again, I said it, 1% is going to make that professional level or whatever it may be, or even go to college.
Right.
You got to embrace again what you're in, and just value what you have right there, and don't think about what's the next step. I see it, especially in hockey. It's crazy, and especially this time of year. It's where are you going to play next year? Where are you going to play next year? It's just like let them be a kid, let them enjoy it, and I think that's one thing that we did as parents is just like let our kids enjoy the sport and have fun and create that environment. But what I was trying to say is that we're trying to prepare you for life. Right. We're not trying to prepare you for, to go to the pros. We want to give you life lessons. Like if you learn, I always said, like if you learn how to compete on the field or the court, you're going to learn how to compete in life. And that, I think that's the bottom line, learning how to compete in life and waking up and being able to do what you want to do. And like, if you want to do something, go and do it.
Right.
It's going to be, the answer is going to be no all the time if you don't even ask or you don't try. So I think those are, again, messages that we want to get across to our athletes and, just everyone for that matter.
Yeah, man. If you can't help me win, you can't be my friend. You know, you got to surround yourself
Yeah,
with people that are trying to do the same things you're doing and at the same level, because it's not easy to do any of this.
Right.
And if you're hanging out with a bunch of guys that just want to go hang out all the time, you're going to be the guy that's just hanging out instead of getting the extra workout in.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you gotta just lean into, you know, your goals and, you know, attack them relentlessly.
Yep.
I think that's Bo Jackson.
You got a quote, right? So you just got a little more about Randell too. He has a Trey.
Trey, my son, me and my wife
Just got married.
Yeah,
Got
I got married.
huh?
I got married twice this year. I got married down in Mexico, and then back up in Connecticut in July. Married, in May in Mexico. But we had a son, Trey. He's 2. You know,
This kid's off the charts.
I was gonna say
He's a little weapon.
when I had I knew I was having a boy. I came to talk to you, and I just started. What'd you do with Tyson? Let me know all the things, because I remember one time I was working out and Tyson was in the gym. I can't remember. It was probably 2010. You know, so we're talking about 12 years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
And he's at the goalie school and he's just hitting pucks into the net.
Yep.
And I stopped working out and I just set up pucks for him for about 25 minutes.
Yep.
And I was like, if you want to be great,
You gotta do
I'm
it.
here for you.
Yeah.
Right? And, you know, same things I do with Trey. I get dead tired.
Yeah.
Dad, come on, basketball.
go. Yeah,
and
you gotta go.
he just,
'Cause you'll never get that day back.
right.
You'll never get that back. You gotta
And
just keep going with
Yeah.
it. Right.
I try to just keep him around it just because I know sports has done so much for me.
Mm.
So I figure what easier way for me to be able to give him those life lessons than to be able to just show him,
Right.
you know, this is why
Live.
this is happening.
Yeah.
This is how you handle these types of things.
I mean, my guys have been on team buses and
Right.
in locker rooms.
Right.
I can't even go with them. Oh, what about me? Like, stay out there. We'll be back. Coming
Right.
out with sticks. So, you know, I think just again, you know, this atmosphere that you're in, and just you embrace it and you're grateful for it, and,
Yep.
and just keep going with it.
Yeah. Met some great people along the way, and you know, just built extreme network, you know, of contacts. You know, from learning that there's more than just the guys on the field, right? You know, there's front office guys. You know, there's a whole bunch of guys. You know, you'll deal with. Oh, I know a trainer over here. You know, I know this agent. You know, there's so many different sides to the business, and you have to be well versed in it.
Right.
You know, or it's like your car,
Right. You got to maintain.
Yeah, if you don't have, you know, an alternator, right, you're not going anywhere.
Right.
You got to be able to know how to work everything on the inside.
Yep.
You know, if you're going to be successful at it.
Right. One thing I talk about in my book is just besides, you know, a lot of different stories, but just the fact where I put a foot forward when I was younger and I started my own business. And how did I do that? I kind of like grew up in it through my grandfather. I talk about him and the messages that he gave me and my grandmother gave me. You know, I talk about one story. It's probably one of my life favorite stories, is the fact that my grandfather gave me a briefcase. He owned a carpet company and gave me a briefcase filled with samples, and he told me to go door to door. I was in first grade. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. So I went knocking on doors, and one thing, you know, this poor old lady felt sorry for me, gave me $20 and sent me back, you know, on my way. My grandfather was just like, great, you made a sale. I'm like, no, the lady felt bad for me. Snatched the 20 out of my hand. So you don't want people to feel bad for you. Go out and work. I told you to do something. So those are just, you know, lessons and stuff. And
That's a gem right there.
yeah. So,
At
you
6 years old.
exactly. I'm saying, I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
But yeah, so it was, you know, again, with the book and writing and journaling, you know, I talk about, you know, local guy. He's also on this network. David Allen Rivera was a big part of inspiration to me. And he told me, he's like, brother, you gotta journal and write your feelings down. And from writing that, it became so therapeutic that I was just writing, you know, just basically regurgitating out on paper. And you know, but journaling and, you know, the meditation, the breathing, all that stuff's like, you know, plays a huge role in my daily, you know, life. But
you writing on actual like pen on paper when you journal?
Both. Yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
sometimes when I write things like that, I just open a note in my phone. But I don't know if it'll feel different if I just
So
put the
there's-
pen to the paper.
There was a lot of I'd actually get like moments where I would, just be in the car and I'd pull over or something, or just pull into a lot and just start writing because that thought's on my head, or so I did both. I would handwrite it. If I was out somewhere, I just grab a piece of paper, start writing notes. I did a lot at like games, my kids' games, because I would see like ignorance, and then that would spark something with me. You know what I mean? So, but
Right.
so I did a lot, both. But I really started doing it. I was going to see Chris Newberry, who played for the Kings, the LA Kings hockey team, out in LA. And I was like, shoot, I don't feel like flying, man. It was like 6.5, 7 hour rip over there, and I was like, I'm gonna start writing. And that was the first day I started writing, and it took 5 years later we got something. So,
Wow.
but yeah, it was good. It was very therapeutic, and hopefully it's a decent message that I've sent out there. But so
Definitely love the stuff that I've read so far. I definitely read that chapter on your grandfather sending you door to door.
yeah,
Yeah, man, it's just awesome to learn more about you and those stories. I think that was one of the things I said I wanted to talk about with you, was because knowing you, knowing your sister, seeing how your kids are. My wife says, Pete's kids are always so much more mature than I think them to be. Like, I forget how young they are.
right.
And it's like one of the questions I had was like, well, what makes him, like, what makes them as a family like that, And I would see your mom at the grocery store, and she's just, she's methodical.
She gotta go, man.
She's in there. It's like she's just tap, tap, boom, throwing stuff in the cart. And I just like, I've always loved your family.
Yeah.
I've always, had tremendous respect for you guys, just because you always learn something when you come around you guys.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So hopefully our listeners can learn a little something from the two of us here. We're kind of wrapping up. We're getting close to the end of our time here.
Nice.
It was awesome. It was a great first show. Again, I think the two of us, speaking for Rand and myself, we're real excited to get out here. And again, we thank Mike for all his hard work and back
Thank
here
you, Mike.
getting us set up. But again, if there's any questions or topics that you guys along the way that we want to that you want to see, you can always contact us. It's p@builtdifferent.com. Or actually,
Randell.
p@builtdifferent@gmail.com.
There you go. Randell.builtdifferent@gmail.com.
All right. So if there's any topics, any questions, we're always open to that. But we look forward to bringing you guys some more great info. Hopefully today's show was a little informative for you, kind of getting to know us and what our deal is. But we're going to be definitely bringing you guys some good stuff. We'll have some good guests on here, from pro athletes right down to college to, younger athletes. And again, just really getting, perspective on them and, what they've been through. And it's not just athletes. It's going to be everyday people. But thank you very much for listening. Pete Asadourian signing off.
Peace.